Thank you, everybody. My name is Doug Parks, and we're gathered here today to talk about the journey of life. We're here to talk about the possibility that exists for each and every one of us to return to the garden. And I want to start tonight with a very simple story that many of you already have heard. I heard it when I was a child being raised. It was the story of the Garden of Eden. And while I'm embarrassed to say I'm not a great reader and quoter of the Bible, it's one of the first stories in the scriptures we've all heard over and over again. In the Garden of Eden, life was glorious. Everything was provided for Adam and Eve. All they had to do was have a desire, and life was provided for them. There was only one rule, and the rule was simple. They were not allowed to eat the fruit of knowledge of good and evil. Now, as a child, when I heard that story and learned that story, I was raised in the Catholic Church. I had wonderful nuns in black suits that were very serious about my learning those things. And I learned the best I could. And I knew that apples were somehow terrible things to eat. And I also knew that they were teaching me in a simple way a profound truth that I didn't see applied, because when they said I wasn't allowed to know what's good and what's evil, and on the same hand, when I went to church, they constantly told me what was good and what was evil. And I was a confused little boy who decided I didn't understand, but it was probably my fault. And so I judged myself and went on about life and figured, well, I'll figure it out later on. Well, I never did. And in the last 35 years, as this process has come out into the world and the process of learning about non-judgment, I haven't found many other people that have gotten past the conflicts between the idea of non-judgment and the ability to live a life of non-judgment. So our focus in this process is going to be to give you the tools to make that come alive, to make that a real opportunity to really not only understand, perhaps for the first time, the difference in judgment and whatever the alternative is. Do you know that there is an alternative to judgment? Most people, when I talk to them, they'll instantly tell me, but we've got to judge. We've got to have court cases, and we've got to be on juries, and we've got to make decisions, and we've got to do all those things. And I say, yep. And this weekend, I'll show you the difference. I'll show you the difference in your physical body of what happens when you judge or when you observe. I'm going to show you the difference because the truth is so simple and yet profound. Every time you judge, let me say that again. Every time you judge, you pay the penalty for the person, the place, the thing you are judging. And most of us have lived lives not realizing that we are paying the penalty for every single individual we have ever judged. I'm going to make that so crystal clear to you that you'll either love what you hear this weekend or you'll be going, nah, I wish I never heard it. Because from this weekend or from this process forward, every time you choose, you will be choosing in awareness. You see, that's what's been missing from our lives. We've been doing things not knowing the penalty we were paying. What you're about to give up is the not knowing part. And what I'd like for you to do with me is ask yourself the simple question: what would my life be like? Think about it. What would your life be like if you left judgment behind? Would it be exactly as it is right now? I don't think so. And I think the ways you'd find that your life would be different are actually going to surprise you. And it may be very close to your picture of this ideal life. Because what I've discovered in my years of sharing this information and learning this information, you see, we teach what we need to learn. I have a degree in judging. What we are going to find is that when you set judgment aside, there's something beautiful to take its place. There's something beautiful that we are here to experience. We are here to be the seeds because every one of us has a sphere of influence around us that moves their life according to our example. I know the people that we invited, the people that are listening, the people that are watching, every one of them is doing so by divine appointment. And we're going to talk about where that divine appointment comes from. But one of the first things I want to address is, what would life be like without stress? How many of you live a life without stress? I'm looking for a hand. I'm looking for a hand. Do you understand? And I don't think you do entirely, but I'm going to show you in crystal clear terms that stress is nothing more than your physical response to having judged. If you never judge, it is impossible to be under stress. And stress, we're going to make it absolutely physically crystal clear what stress is. And it's not work. It's not the boss. It's not the husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, anything else, because stress is never an external thing. Well, stress is our response to those external things. Stress is the fact that we react according to a pattern that we were taught. And is that freedom? You're going to find, and we're going to talk in great detail about the fact that most of us were programmed, our reactions were programmed in our subconscious mind by the time we were 6 years old. The only other programming that happens after that is this little window during puberty where we start learning new and really important judgments. But the idea is that you were programmed by the time you were 6 years old with your reaction pattern, and that changes very little in most people's lives because they don't understand the simple rules of life without judgment. This was one of my deep, deep conflicts, because if the church's responsibilities were to bring us home, bring us back to the garden, bring us back into a life that we were living at our highest level, why didn't they teach non-judgment? And I'll be quite honest, I judged the dickens out of the church after church after church for that very reason, and it didn't do any good. It didn't accelerate the change process at all. As a matter of fact, I simply paid a deeper and deeper penalty for what I judged, but I came to understand that they too were doing the best they knew how. And it's not up to us to wait for someone else to come into our lives. It's up to you and I to accumulate the wisdom that's been here for thousands of years. I'm not going to tell you a thing that hasn't been on the planet for thousands of years. We're simply going to simplify that understanding and bring it down to the point of, are you ready to make a choice for yourself? Is there a single person sitting here who will walk out because of this brilliant teaching you're going to get and not judge again? No, because the programs are immensely powerful. Stress in your life is predominant. It's not something that sort of happens. It is the dominant experience in our culture on planet Earth right now, because we're struggling for something that's unattainable. Love through judgment is not possible. Love is something we're all craving and seeking, and yet, if we're not on the path that will lead us there, then it's time for us to step back, look at the rules again, and see if there isn't a simpler and easier path. My prayer, my hope, my words are going to encourage you to come return to the garden. And as you return to the garden, all that's necessary is to set aside the stress, understand the source of the stress, and do some simple things to make stress a thing of the past. I wish I could line up in front of me, behind me here, the bottles of Malox I chugged through all my years of learning. I wish I didn't have to have had the ulcers and the other things, but those were the body speaking to me in a crystal clear language, and it might as well have been German, or it might as well have been Russian or Swahili. I didn't understand. And until we understand the language of the way the body speaks to us with stress, then we can't change it. You can change it. You can have that stress-free life simply by making the choice to set judgment aside. We're going to talk a lot this weekend about the law of attraction. Everybody in this room knows the law of attraction backwards and forwards, because it's 3 words or 4 words, the law of attraction. But for most of us, that's about all we know. That's about all we know. What we do in the world comes back to us, or you have this understanding. But it's been my experience that most of us are frustrated because we don't think the law of attraction is paying attention to what we really think ought to be happening. The law of attraction keeps giving us why aren't all of us driving, why didn't we come out here in Rolls Royces? If the law of attraction really worked, why am I not living in a mansion? If the law of attraction, I want those things. If the law of attraction really worked, why am I single? If the law of attraction really worked, want to fill in the blank? What I'm going to ask you to be really honest with in this process is what your true beliefs are about the law of attraction. Not what this little Game Boy prefrontal cortex little monkey mind thinks, what the mind thinks. Do you know the difference in the subconscious and the conscious mind? We're going to talk about it quite a bit. The conscious mind is amazing in what it can do. And basically, the conscious mind is centered up here in the prefrontal cortex and is amazingly powerful. It can take all kinds of concepts, weave them together. It's incredibly creative. It can take this fact and put them together and come up with something absolutely beautiful, a solution. And the subconscious mind is where we put all our automatic programs. When you see a spider, you go, ah! When a bear comes around the corner, or you're walking on the path and a bear comes in, the subconscious mind says, run! And the subconscious mind is nothing but programs put in by authority figures in your life by the time you were 6 years old. Don't do that. Oh, why did you make that mistake again? Why did you break my glasses? Why did you do this? Why did you do that? And as children, we learn through the emotion of those who are programming us all the rules of life. Well, The program is 1,000,000 times more powerful, a computer, than our prefrontal cortex. How many of you think you're actually living with this little Game Boy mind? If you had to walk to the back of this room using nothing but the prefrontal cortex, this powerful mind we think we live by, I'll meet you back there about Thursday. If you actually had to do that consciously, you would find it virtually impossible. But it's nothing for the subconscious mind because it's this incredibly powerful computer that operates this whole system, taking millions and millions of inputs into this mind per second. 1,000,000 times more powerful than the subconscious mind, and we're trying to be creative and life with the conscious mind. The freedom that we're looking for is going to be in understanding our programming and what you truly believe about the law of attraction. If you truly believed what you're repeating to yourself over and over again, guess what? It would already be there. You'd already have the millions. You'd already have the perfect health. You'd already have everything you've ever asked for. And yet we are so powerful that by repeating a concept over and over and over again, eventually we do get things into the subconscious. Affirmations are absolutely beautiful. I'm sitting in the hall of affirmations here. I'm sitting in the place where prayer for things is so common, so beautiful, and it truly does work to attract what we want. But we tend to use the squirt gun instead of the fire hose. And we're going to show you the fire hose. The fire hose is yours to turn on, to change the subconscious mind, to understand what you really want. And when the subconscious mind understands what you really want in a language that it speaks body, it speaks the truth, then the law of attraction will be the most glorious part of your life. You'll understand that there's no sense resisting anything that has showed up in your life. Because everything that has showed up in your life has been drawn to you for one of a couple of reasons we're going to talk about. And that's just that simple. And our willingness to look in the eyes of what is in front of us and deal with it lovingly or with judgment. That's the real choice we get to make. And when you deal with love, what comes back to you is different than when you look at life through the eyes of judgment. Believe me, I'm not judging one of us because we judge. I know for a fact every single person that walked in this room has no choice. Because most of us have only learned a little bit. And it's my understanding, it's my experience that every joy I've ever stepped into in my life has happened because I set judgment aside. I will be learning non-judgment for as long as I'm on planet Earth. My guess is you will be too. And the real question is, which direction are we going to go? We're going to learn by joy or learn by pain? Learn by struggle or learn by pleasure? If we make it that simple, is it a hard choice? I think not. What about your health? If you lived in a life where there was no judgment, what would your health be like? Uh-huh. And I'm looking at a group that's incredibly healthy. I can tell, I can see the energy, I can see, but I can also hear the wheels turning inside, that might be something that's not quite perfect, not quite the way you want. You might look in the mirror every day and have words with the image that's staring back at you. You might be a little bit using the law of attraction wrongly, because whatever it is you see and put energy behind is exactly what the body believes you want. Our health is our saying back to Creator, thank you for this beautiful body and this beautiful experience. And if you're not taking care of your health, do you think there might be a judgment somewhere in the way? It's my experience that the only barrier between what you want in life and what you're experiencing in life is just your judgments. Because there's nothing we cannot create. There's nothing we cannot do if we understand the difference in the 2 points of view. One to be the observer, one to judge. And yet, we judge constantly. Whether it's that idiot in the car who pulled out in front of me, whether it's the person going too slow, whether it's that person who wore that silly outfit, whether it's the most ridiculous things we tend to look at and judge. And yet, it's you and I that have paid every penalty for every judgment we've ever made. And when I say health and vitality would be your choice, do you understand what I'm saying? Is that right now, if there's a health issue, that's been your choice. Why is it that we don't all eat vegan meals and do all the things that we know that would be wise to do to take care of this body? Because we judge. And I'm going to tell you exactly what those judgments are, and then choose for yourself. It's not that one is bad and one is eating vegan is bad, or no, vegan is good. None of that. The fact is, you can be beautifully healthy eating the diet of your choice. Your thoughts are 1,000 times more toxic than any food you've ever put in your mouth. Your judgments of those food, whether it's good or bad, is just as toxic, more toxic than anything they've put inside those foods. And when that becomes a reality to you, then I think we're going to start blessing our food. We're going to start loving our food, enjoying our food, and we don't have to create the toxins that we believe are in the food. When you judge somebody else's 16-ounce porterhouse steak that you know came off of out of a factory farm, and you know, oh, no, who just paid the toxic penalty for your judgments of that person's food over there? I did it. I haven't always been conscious. Wait a minute. I've always been growing in consciousness. And I'm not very far along the path yet. But I've gotten far enough to know what the path looks like. I've gotten far enough to know the difference of the path of joy, pleasure, health, vitality, or the the path of judgment, toxins, sickness, and stress. Now, if you can simplify your life in this course to be that simple, which direction? Do you think you can find a better life than you have today? My belief is you can. And without any judgment of the life you're living, I know I'm speaking with some of the people that have the most incredible lives already. Whether you have bunches and bunches of money, bunches and bunches of health, bunches and bunches of friends, whatever you have, I know you realize there's more that's possible when you return to the garden. What about relationships? What would a relationship be like if it were built on non-judgment? Whoa. That's a problem. Relationships would then have to be without rules or without... How could you trust? How could you know that your husband or wife or boyfriend or girl... We live in a world of all kinds of amazing things going on. Isn't it easier just not to trust? Isn't it easier? I'll go live as a hermit on a mountaintop. Isn't that easier? Well, sometimes, yes. I lived on that mountaintop. It's a beautiful place on the mountaintop. But I don't have many friends there. And what I found in life, it's that energy exchange between friends that truly makes life worth living. Your relationships without judgment would be like fairy tales. Only, guess what? A fairy tale would be a restriction. A fairy tale is a finite story. Your life can be better than that. Do you think there aren't any partners for somebody with your lofty level of attainment in the world? I tried that one, it didn't work. We're going to talk about using our minds creatively. What do you think stands between you and God's mind? I came to understand in my years of struggling that each and every one of us walks around, lives with the mind of Creator. And because I lived here by the Mississippi River and I spent time down there, that was a beautiful place for me to begin to understand. And I thought of God's mind flowing through each one of us as the Mississippi River flows down through there. Can you look at every little bit of what's in the Mississippi River? No, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of gallons. Well, think about those as a river of thought. And right now, as you experience Creator's mind through your filters, you get to pick up a little scoop every now and then and look at the thoughts. And my question is, are those thoughts from the deep, dark, murky bottom? Are those thoughts up near the top where there's light? Are there those thoughts where there's life and vitality? Are those thoughts where there are toxins from the oil leaking from the barges? Are those thoughts that you're in the habit of choosing, are they supporting the perfect life for you? What I found for myself was our thinking habits are just that, habits. And what the world of science is telling us that is 70+% of our thoughts are negative and repetitive. What I'm here to share with you is the reason for that is our subconscious programming. And today, that's changeable. Today, that's changeable easily. There's only one missing component, and that's our understanding of our ability to change. You don't have to go back to college. You don't have to have a degree. You don't have to do anything but have a simple way of understanding how to live life without judgment. If there were no judgments, if you were not looking to criticize all those around you for not having your lofty attainment, do you think that your thoughts would be the same as they are now when we're constantly looking at those around us to compare ourselves? Oh, he must have spent a lot. Those shoes, those are Italian. How can anybody spend $300 for... You would judge somebody else's attire, would you? I had the fun of wearing my hair down, knowing that it elicits a response from people. You hippie? And I've learned that other people's judgments are their situation. They have nothing to do with me. And I want you to understand that what faces us out in the world is a world full of people who have been taught beautifully how to judge. They've based their lives on the ability to judge. And if you are ever standing in front of them, I promise you, they don't have any choice but to filter you through their understanding of their own life. They're going to compare you and them. And they're going to do their best to find you lacking. Don't join them. That's their game. And oftentimes what we find ourselves doing is the same thing to ourselves, acknowledging they're right. Yeah, you're right. And that's not only not necessary, that's not wise. Why should you reinforce somebody else's ignorance? A little kid comes up to you and says, 2 and 2 is 7. Are you going to celebrate their wisdom or help them learn a different way? What are you going to do the next time somebody's in front of you and has a word for you that talks about a judgmental picture of the world around you? Social pressure. Is there a judgment? You see, in every area of our lives, what we're faced with is the fact that to be comfortable out in the world, that we seem to think we have to play the games that they're playing in order to be comfortable so they won't judge us. Oh, I don't want any controversy. Well, guess what? No controversy necessary. We're going to show you the loving response to someone else's judgment. We're going to show you the choice of putting joy in your life and reflecting it back to them so that they walk away from that with an opportunity to see life differently. You see, the only thing that's ever encouraged us to grow is somebody in our life who's been a mentor, who's been an example, who's been willing to be a teacher, who's been willing to share with us a better way of living. Are you willing to do that in your world? I know you are with your kids. I know you're doing the best you can, programming them and all the stuff you have to do. But what about the friends of circles? Are you willing to step out and learn to use creative thinking rather than habitual thinking? Do you think there might be a difference in the two? How many of you realize or have had the dream of being just like your dad? No judgment. Or just like your mom. Oh no, I told you I'd make you mad before the day was over. The truth is, our judgments of our situation when we were young were, I'm not going to be like them. But guess what has happened to us? I'm going to tell a story I don't usually tell, but this is one that I became aware of how powerful the subconscious mind in my life was. When I was growing up, my dad had polio. And at times when I was paying attention, I realized he walked with an almost unnoticeable limp. He had to adjust one of his shoes, and Dad was Dad. He was up on a pedestal. He was a big businessman, all the wisdom, controlled everybody with his eyes, could do anything, it It was an amazing thing to, boy, when I grow up, I'm going to be like Dad. Well, one time after I had started my growth process and started paying attention to what was happening in my life, a lot had happened. And all of a sudden, I found myself living on my own, being out of college, earning my own living, having my own car, and doing those things. And I realized, hey, I'm a man. Something had happened. A very short time later, I was paying attention, and I saw myself walking with a limp. What's that about? Where did that come from? No physical reason. I was an athlete. I was kind of an athlete. I had fun playing like I was an athlete. But where did the limp come from? I saw the little boy. I saw the little boy looking at his dad. I'm going to be just like Dad when I grow up. What was the trigger? As soon as I saw, hey, I'm grown up, I'm a man, the subconscious mind said, oh, there's a program for that. As soon as you're a man, you walk like a man. That lasted about 3 more minutes. And the mind let go. When I had an understanding that matched. Your subconscious is reprogrammable. It is so beautiful. And the programs that you have held and cherished and lived by, you know your reactions are this, that, and the other to whoever that comes into your life. Those reactions are patterns, but they're changeable. And when you understand the beauty of the way you were programmed, and I know it was beautiful because you're here. Because you see yourself so clearly that you're looking to go to a place of beauty. You're looking to go to a place where life is a joy. Life is cherished. Life is creative. Life is functional. Life is pleasure. And life is yours to choose without the controls of all those people who judge every other thing we do. Non-judgment comes with responsibility. But it'll surprise you. It's not responsibility for others. It's the ability to respond for yourself. And I celebrate every time I have anger that still pops out of my head, my mouth, my body. I used to judge myself for it. And I found something different as a much wiser response. And I celebrate the release of that judgment so that I can see it and change it. Are you ready to do the same thing? Are you ready to live the kind of life that allows those programs to come to the surface so that you can change them? It's subconscious you can't see. Once something is out in your life and emotion comes up, it is a sign of life. It's a sign of love that you can change and bring into your life. When I say creative solutions will dominate your life if stress is a thing of the past, I'm talking about using the mind of the Creator to create whatever you want. Are there any restrictions in the garden? They got apple trees. They've got all kinds of, as a matter of fact, I understand they've got Ferraris in the garden has everything. The garden is a place we actually get to choose and create and love and live the kind of life. And I know you hear me right now. I can feel it from this room. You know that the only thing standing between that and your experience is your understanding. When did you learn not to put your hand on the eye of the stove? First time you did it. And was there ever a second time? Only for those of us who were slow. I'm going to show you that the things you're doing to yourself day after day are no wiser than putting your hand back on the eye of the stove. There's no reason to go back there again once you genuinely understand. And I know we live in a world that thinks they understand judgment, but truly they don't. Or if they understand judgment, what they don't understand is non-judgment. The great teachers that have walked planet Earth have shown you non-judgment. Whether you look at Jesus, Martin Luther King, look at the Buddha, the Dalai Lama, each one is being the best example of non-judgment that they can accomplish. What's standing between you and doing those same things? I was taught in this very room, in this very setting, in this same environment, that we are unlimited except by the self-limitations we put on ourselves, the limitations we put on ourselves. Creative thinking can solve every problem on planet Earth. I'm not talking about changing our lives so that finally we have this one little place on planet Earth that's happy. No, I'm talking about the magic that will happen that will transform planet Earth. But it's just a few of us. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 20. What will it take to change the Earth, to change planet Earth? Our little group. And my prayer for you, my request of you, is that you be brave enough to stick your toe in the water and see if just maybe, I can get closer to that life of non-judgment. If you give up 5 judgments a day, is there hope? If you give up 1 judgment a day, I've made it all the way to here. I'm 3 feet off the floor. Next time you see me, I might be up here. But what I'm trying to say is that we have an opportunity to change our own lives individually if you'll learn the rules of hockey. Learn the rules of non-judgment. Hockey I may never understand. If there were non-judgment of our environment, how would we live on planet Earth? Would we be in harmony? How many plastic bottles got thrown in the trash by our group today? Oh, but I can't help that. I took my plastic bottle and poured it into a tin can, so I look more environmentally friendly. But the truth is, we've got lots of changes to make. The truth is, we're living toxically on a beautiful planet. And we can transform that beautiful planet to the Garden of Eden just by the choices we make. Does it make a difference what you do? Yeah. As I started doing research in the last few years and finally decided I needed to be a better example of consciousness, I became aware of some of the things I was doing, and I've made a difference. I know there are actually by now thousands of plastic bottles that haven't been put back into the environment just because I chose not to do that anymore. Is that a big deal, 1,000 as opposed to 1 billion? You're darn right it's a big deal. And the ones you choose or don't choose is a big deal. And what are the other things we do? What are the ways we can live in harmony? Well, one of the great things we can do is be in harmony with the people in your world. Are you living toxic conversations? Are you living toxic relationships? Are you living in harmony with... There's a law here. The law is what you do has to come back to you. How many of you questioned this morning whether gravity would actually work? I didn't. I got up. I knew that my feet, when I put my feet down, they would go down. How many of you question the law of attraction today? How many of you question the law of love and understanding in the way you were on the planet today? How many of you were conscious through the day? All I'm saying is simple. If we're going to transform planet Earth, it has to start in your front yard. Heck with the backyard, you'll get to that soon enough. It has to start right in front of your eyes with the choices we make. And every single day you have choices. I have choices. We have choices. And it's time to understand from the place of non-judgment what the possibilities really are. Understanding the simple rules of life is the only thing that stands between you and the ability to choose the Garden of Eden. In the Garden of Eden story, it was as if you were cast out forever, and that's not true. Because there's also a story that says you were forgiven. And what I'm here to show you is that if you will simply set aside judgment, you are welcome home in the Garden of Eden. Those dreams that you truly have held to all your life, of that dream life, are more than dreams. They are a reality. They have to be attracted in the garden. You will experience what we are experiencing together tonight is a dream I've held for 35 years. It's real. It's an opportunity to express from our hearts to the world that we are changing one judgment at a time. And there's not a judgment that is more powerful than another judgment. There are more toxic judgments, but let go of the ones that no longer serve you. Understanding is all that stands between you. You have to have the experience to go with the intellect. You will never change from just the intellect. You will only change the subconscious mind when you involve the body. As we share the story of judgment, we're going to talk about every thought is a creation. And every thought falls into one of 5 categories: mental, physical, spiritual, social, or financial. If your goal is balance in all 5 areas, you can live a stress-free, illness-free, abundant life that includes everything you've ever dreamed of. If one of those areas is out of balance, the whole thing falls to stress, illness, disease, and destruction. Oh, that's too big a challenge. No. The only challenge is sitting where you are and not understanding what the rules are. If you sit in I'm comfortable where I am, it's okay here, but a little illness, I take drugs here and there, but I've got control. Understand the judgments of comfort that are involved, and understand the choices that are truly there for you if you will step into non-judgment. I am thrilled that you're here. In the next 6 segments, what's going to happen is your life will be laid bare for you. And laid bare not from a place of judgment, but from a place of laughter. And you will begin to see what's possible from the heart. What's possible, what changes can you make that allow you to step into the life of your dreams? The changes are simple. They're always letting go, letting love take the place of judgment. And I know I'm sitting in a gathering of loving beings, I'm thrilled that I'm here with family, with friends, with loved ones, with people of a like mind and heart that know one thing. The life we live makes a difference. And if we have a choice, do I know that we're going to heal the planet in the next 30 days? No, maybe not. But do I know that in the next 30 days your life can be fuller, richer, wiser, better, healthier, happier? That's a fact. And I'll share it with you in a way that you'll know it's a fact. I ask you to return to the garden with us. Return to the garden with a new sense of possibility. Return to the garden with a new sense of purpose. And then return to your life and invite those you love to join you in a new way of life. You are loved, you're appreciated. What lies before you is 6 simple classes. And in those 6 simple classes, I promise you a crown of jewels. I'm thrilled that you're here. I thank you for the love and attention and enjoyment. And for those who take this step with me, I promise you that in my 35 years, I have not met a single person who didn't grow, didn't love more, didn't experience more by taking that wisdom inside and growing their lives with love. Thank you for being with us, and I look forward to seeing you in the garden.
Hello, friends. Thanks for joining us on our journey to return to the garden. My hope is that something you heard inspired you to want to know more. It's been my experience that the information comes to life as you learn to observe more and judge less. I also know that those observations will lead to more questions. To continue the journey, I want to invite you to be my guest for our continuing monthly online classes. The interactive structure and with question and answers will be fun and filled with laughter. The first 3 sessions are free. Registration is a breeze. Just visit www.returntothegarden.com. That's it, returntothegarden.com. Here's wishing you a happy, stress-free life, and I hope our paths cross again.